Hello and welcome to this week's video. So for this one, I'm finally doing a tutorial for this cardigan, which I have decided to call the Earthscape cardigan. So this is in the color Terra Firma because it has earthy tones and it just looks like earth, well, at least in my opinion. So if you'd like to make this cardigan for yourself, keep watching. Okay, so this is the structure of this cardigan. You begin by making the back panel and then the two front panels. Thereafter, you will add a single crochet border around the entire cardigan, and then this will help you as you seam it together. After you've seamed the cardigan together, you will make the bottom ribbing, which uses half double crochet slip stitches in the back loop only. So once you're done attaching the ribbing onto your front and back panel, we will do the button band, which is also half double crochet slip stitches in the back loop only. And then from here we'll be working on the sleeves. We'll make each sleeve and then seam it together. After this, we'll make the cuffs separately and then attach them onto the sleeves. So after you've done all of this and blocked your work, all you need to do is add the buttons and you're good to go. For the fitting of this cardigan, you can make it to your desired fit. You'll just refer to this slide as a guideline when you're making your cardigan. The measurements needed for this cardigan are your chest measurements, your armhole depth, your arm length, your cuffs, and the length that you would like your cardigan to be. For the materials, you'll need around 1000 grams to 1500 grams of yarn, two hook sizes, one bigger hook which will make the cuffs and then a smaller hook for the rest of your cardigan. You'll also need stitch markers, measuring tape, scissors, darning needle, and buttons. For the stitches, we'll be using the lemon peel stitch, a slip stitch in the back loop only, a half double crochet slip stitch in the back loop only, and a single crochet. For the layout of this cardigan, I would say the color changes are entirely dependent on you, on how you'd like to spread across the colors and how much and how big you want your shapes to be. So I have this layout that is kind of a visual guide to show you what I mean by this, because I had drawn this on my notebook, but I figured you would not be able to see my notebook properly. Anyway, so as you can see, I have divided them into the front panel. What? That's not correct. The back panel, the front panel, the right sleeve and the left sleeve, and then your cuffs, of course. So what then I would do is, since I already made my gauge and figured out how many stitches per row, I would then figure out, okay, I have about 77 stitches widthwise. Then I'll come to my visual representation and then check, okay, how many squares do I have widthwise? For this one, I have 11, so that one divides very well. So that means every square is 7 stitches. So like for example, I would start with 14 stitches of this color, then I do 21 of this, and then I do 14 of this, then 7, then 14, then 7. So that's how I would basically figure out when I'm changing colors and after how many stitches. You do the same thing lengthwise. Come and check, okay, I have 75 rows lengthwise, and here I have how many are these? I have 13 of this, and then I have 75 of this. So that means for each row, each square, it'll be about 5 to 6 rows. I think that makes sense. So once you have this visual presentation, you can just color change as you see them here, instead of like having to maybe print out an A0 type of pattern and then trying to follow that. Same thing you'll do for the sleeves. Once you count how many squares are in between each sleeve, then you can find how many stitches are in each box. I hope that has made sense. And then also let's just go to this a little bit. So I have this like size chart. I put it here, but it's like from, I'll leave links for all of this in the description for ways that you can also just easily calculate your desired measurements. So to get my length, since I have a bust measurement of 32, I went ahead and added 4 inches because I want it to be more of a loose fit. So that gives me 36 inches. So then 36 inches divided by 2, because you're making it in 2 separate panels, you have 18. Then that way I have my 76 to 75 stitches. Yeah, I hope that all makes sense. But don't worry, I'll leave links that you can just automatically calculate all of these things and it'll be much easier. I think I have covered everything, but if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Now let's make the body panel of this cardigan. So to begin, we're going to start with the back panel and then we'll move forward to the front panel. So for this, once you've made all your calculations, you will know how many stitches you need to make. So for mine, I'm going to be making 77 half double crochet stitches, and for this we'll be working with a foundation chain instead of like the normal chains. I hope you get what I mean. So first, begin by making your foundation chain. To do this, I'll just explain in case you don't know. Chain 3, and then go back into the third chain. Actually, first you're going to yarn over, since this is a half double crochet, and then go through the very first chain and then pull through 1 loop. You're going to chain 1 and then you have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to pull through all 3 of them, and with that you have your first half double crochet stitch. So you're going to repeat this until you have your desired length. I also forgot to mention, you're going to do this using your primary color. So this is the same color that you're going to use for your ribbing and the same one that you've used for your cuffs. Okay, so we have our foundation chain. Mine is 77 half double crochets, which measures up to like 19. But I think also it's because I rounded up. It's supposed to be 76.5, but honestly, I don't mind if it's extra loose. So I've also placed my colors over here. You can't really see them, but I've pulled through from the middle just so that it could be easier for me to just pull the yarn as I go. From here, we're going to chain 1 and of course turn your work, and then we want to attach our new yarn. So what we're going to do, the first stitch is going to be a half double crochet stitch. So you're going to yarn over and pull through, and then get your new color and place it behind, and then use this to continue doing your double crochet. And then for the next stitch, we're going to place a single crochet. So for the lemon peel stitch, it's an alternation between a half double crochet and a single crochet. So I'm going to make, according to my pattern, I'm going to make 14 stitches until I need to change my color next. So as you're working, also make sure that you're tucking in your yarn so that you don't have so many ends to weave in by the end of this project with all the color changes. So double, single, double, single, double, single. So again, similar to what we did before, when we want to change color, we're going to continue as normal. So for this one, it was a single crochet. I have 2 loops on my hook. So I'm going to drop the color I currently have and then switch to my next color. So you're going to tuck it in behind and then pull through to complete that single crochet. Make sure to tighten it so it's not too loose, and then continue to proceed with the next stitch, which is a half double crochet. For this one, I'm doing 21 stitches. So you're going to repeat alternating the colors as you desire, but this is the basic repeat of this cardigan. It's going to be the lemon peel stitch throughout the body and the arms, and then you're going to switch colors as you'd like. So I don't know if there's really much more I could explain, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, so I've completed a few rows, and this is how the stitch works up. Very beautiful, and it has such a nice texture. So now what I need to do is switch colors. So I want to add 2 more colors and then drop these 2 colors. So first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this brown one because I'll need to reattach it since I'm continuing the brown from here. And then I'll do the same for these 2 since I'm completely dropping them. So now I'll bring in the new colors I'm replacing it with. So those 2 will be replaced by this jungle green kind of color. And then in between the brown, I'm adding this other one. I don't know what green this is, maybe sage. So now that we have all our yarn together again, let me show you how we will transition from one color to another so that we have like a seamless transition where you just don't see yarn hanging everywhere where you've transitioned, where you've changed colors rather. So first I want to pull this through the middle of this top stitch so that it comes in from the middle as opposed to going from the top. Okay. Come on, cooperate. Like that. And then I'll do the same for this green and the orange that I also cut. Was it green? No, it wasn't orange. The green and the brown. So now we're going to be changing colors from this to the next green one. So just like we did before when I showed you how to change colors, you'll pull through as if you're going to complete the single crochet, and then you'll take your new color and put it at the back and then pull through with it, and then you'll continue the stitch, making sure to tuck in your yarn so that you don't have all these ends to weave. So for this color we're going to be doing 21 stitches. Now we're where the brown is. See, now that it's on top, when you tuck it in, it won't leave any hanging strings on the side. So now we'll just continue with the green, also tucking in that brown behind as you weave it in. So now we'll be doing the same thing when we're adding back the brown yarn. Seems like every time we're transitioning it's at a single crochet, but the steps are the same. If it was a double crochet, you'll just almost finish the double crochet. Okay, so we finished with a double crochet, and now we want to change colors, but this time the yarn is already attached. Yeah, so as usual, you'll pull through. You have your 2 loops. So the next stitch is a double crochet stitch. So you'll yarn over, And instead of just going through the front like this, you're going to go under this. I hope you can see it like that, and then go through your stitch. You see, this way this stitch is much tighter and it's not as loose as if you just transitioned without going through it. Wait, that's not right. Something is not right. Double. Why did I do a double then? Should have been a single, not a double. Let's do that again. Lol. So go through that loop and then go through your stitch. I just have to show you the next stitch because I feel like I fumbled that one. So let's do that again. We are switching to the brown yarn. So you pick that up. The next stitch is a half double crochet. So yarn over, go through the yarn that you just picked up, and then go through the single crochet stitch from the previous row and just continue a double crochet like normal. And there, that's how your color change will look like. So when you turn your work, make sure that you also switch your yarn, because if you continue working like this, of course it'll be tangled. So you'll start from the farthest end and bring them to the right as you push the rest to the, oh no, to the left. Damn. But you get the idea. But that one fell onto the ground. So then now you can continue crocheting your cardigan without worrying that your yarn will get tangled. From here, just continue changing colors as your pattern looks like until you have your desired length. So after you get your desired length for your cardigan, for me, my length is 23 inches. I'm going to leave a chart in the description that lets you calculate the length you want. So according to this chart that I used, my back waist measurement is supposed to be 17 inches. And then since I want it to be about hip length, I added 6 inches, and that gives you 23 inches. So you can do the same and calculate the one you want. So now let's move on to the front panels. I'm just going to cut off the yarn from the previous row so that I can easily tuck them in as I move on to the front panels. Okay, so now that we have our yarn out of the way, I'm going to take the width of my cardigan, which is 21 inches. I think you can see that. And then since I want my collar ribbing, or like the button band, yeah, I think that's what it's called, yeah, to be 5 inches, I'm going to subtract 5 inches from 21. That gives me 16. That means each of my front panels will be 8 inches wide. So I'm just going to count how many stitches those are and place a stitch marker there. And then that's how we're going to begin our front panel. So once you've done that, you're going to attach your next yarn color and then continue following the pattern as usual until you get to where your stitch marker is. So I'm just going to attach my yarn and then continue. As we do this, we're going to tuck in the previous color so that we don't have ends to weave in at the end. So once you get your stitch marker, depending on whatever stitch you have, mine is a single crochet. So I'm going to single crochet, chain 1, turn, and then continue the pattern. So for this color, according to my chart, I'm continuing for 5 more rows. So you're going to repeat the same thing you did for the body of the cardigan. It's the same exact pattern. Now it's just that your rows are shorter because this is for the front panel. So you're going to do the exact same thing for the other side, except for this side, you're going to start from where your stitch marker is and not this other end. So keep that in mind. Begin where your stitch marker is in the middle and not the farthest end. And then continue to make your front panel until you have your desired length. Okay, so now we have one of our front panels done, as you can see. I forgot to mention that for the final row, you're going to switch back to your primary color. For me, it's this jungle green. And then you'll do a row of half double crochets so that you can match up with the back panel, which we began with half double crochets. So like I said, for this other side of the front panel, we're going to start it from the middle right here. So I'm going to take my next color. For me, it's this one. Make a slip knot. And then you're going to put your crochet hook through your stitch where your stitch marker is. So for me, this is going to be a half double crochet. And then we'll just continue like the way we've been doing the rest of our rows. Where you have a double crochet, you'll place a single crochet, and where you have a single crochet, you'll place a double crochet. So for me, I'm going to be doing this color for another 5 rows. So at the end of the row, chain 1, turn, repeat. I think at this point you at least have the hang of doing the lemon peel stitch, so you're just going to repeat it until you have another front panel, and then just like this other side, we're going to make a row of half double crochet for the final row. So after you're done with the front panel, you'll come back and then we'll continue. Okay, so now that we have both sides done, we are not going to cut off the yarn because we're going to place a single crochet along the border of the sweater. So I'm going to switch to a 4mm hook so that it's easier for me to get into the stitches. I've placed stitch markers on each side so that I ensure that I'm putting an equal number of stitches so that both sides are identical. So on each side we'll have 10 stitches in between each of the stitch markers. So from where I finished, I'm just going to chain 1 and then place a single crochet in each stitch. Okay, not really stitch, but space. Also, don't place the stitches on too tightly so that it doesn't start curving inwards. So once you get to the end, we're going to slip stitch into the very first stitch we made, and then chain 1, cut your yarn, and we have the front border done. This is what it looks like. It just has a cleaner finish, especially when we're going to add the button band. Okay, so once you have your single crochet border on the button band side, you're going to repeat the same for the other side where your armholes will be. So you'll just again place stitch markers, or if you don't have stitch markers, you could use scrap yarn or hairpins. They still work the same, and place them like after every 10 stitch or 20 stitches just to help you have an even number of stitches on both sides. So you'll just attach your yarn on either side and then place a single crochet all around. Then after that, we'll come back and just seam the sides together so that we can attach our bottom band. Okay, so now that we have our border on the button band side and on the sleeve side, we're going to seam our sweater together. But first, you'll need to measure your armhole depth. For me, mine is 7 inches. It's 6.5 inches, but I've given it a bit of ease of about 0.5 inches. So that's why I'm using 7 inches. So the total circumference of my armhole will be 14 inches. So where you see the pink stitch markers, this is where I'm going to stop when I'm seaming my cardigan together. So to seam it together, we're going to take our darning needle and of course our primary colored yarn so that you cannot see the seam or where we seamed our cardigan together. So you're going to take your yarn and then I think cut about maybe double. I just usually eyeball it. So once you thread your darning needle, we're going to go through, also make sure that you're seaming on the wrong side of your cardigan, not the right side. So to begin, you're going to insert your needle at the very corner of your cardigan and then go through the front loop of the other side of the cardigan. We're going to be using the whip stitch. However, you could also use the mattress stitch. So once you do that, you're going to tie a knot just to make sure that it doesn't come undone, and then you're going to weave in this later. So for this stitch, you're going to go through the front loop of the right side and then the back loop on the left side. So this is what the stitch looks like on the wrong side, and then on the right side, this is what it will look like. So you'll continue to do the whip stitch until you get to where your armhole starts. Okay, so now that we have one side done, we'll do the exact same thing for this other side. Okay, so now that we have both sides seamed together, we can move on and do the ribbing that goes onto the bottom. So the bottom ribbing, and then after that we'll attach the bottom ribbing onto the cardigan. So now we'll be working on the bottom ribbing of this cardigan. For this, I'm using the 4.5mm hook. So the same hook that I've been using to make the rest of the body panel of this cardigan. So for this, we'll be using the half double crochet slip stitch, also known as the yarn over slip stitch. Yeah. So, and it's going to be 3 inches long. So to begin the bottom ribbing, you're going to make a slip knot and then make a chain of 12 to 15. Let's see. Okay, so that's 12. Yeah, 12 is enough. And then you're going to chain 1, and then we're going to work into the second stitch from the hook. So yarn over, you know how to do a slip stitch, right? You have 3 loops on the hook, and then you'll continue as if you're doing a slip stitch. So also for this, we're going to be working into the back loop only. So that'll be the repeat for the ribbing. So at the end of the row, you're going to chain 1, turn your work, and we'll be working into the back loops only. So yarn over, insert your hook. You have 3 loops on your hook, then pull through all 3. Oop. So that'll be the repeat of this. You're going to do this until you get the same length as the circumference of your cardigan once you've joined it. I really hope you understand what I mean, but yeah. Okay, so I've crocheted 66 rows. This is the same as the width of my cardigan once I have it joined together. I'm going to place a single crochet on the top edge, similar to how we did with the cuffs. So for every row, I'm going to place 1 single crochet. So in total, I'm supposed to have 66 rows. So from here, chain 1 and then place 1 single crochet into each space. Okay, so now that we're all done with the bottom ribbing and we've weaved in the ends, we can now attach it onto our cardigan. So I'm just going to line them together and then use stitch markers to help me place the stitches. So I have 14 stitches on the front panels. So what I'm doing is counting 14 stitches and then, 28 stitches and then placing the stitch markers where that is. So now that I have marked those stitches, I can start seaming it together. We're still going to be using the whip stitch. However, you could also opt for the mattress stitch. Okay, so now that we've attached the bottom ribbing, this means that we're on to the final step of making the body parts of this cardigan. So you're going to flip your cardigan so that your wrong side is inside and then the right side is outside. So I'm just going to add some stitch markers so that I can mark where I want my buttonholes to be now that we have attached the bottom ribbing. So I've just counted 10 stitches in between, and that's where I'll be placing my buttonholes. Okay, so to begin making the button band, you're going to take your yarn, your primary color, and then make a slip knot. And I'll begin with the side where I'm going to be putting my buttonholes. So attach your yarn to the corner of your cardigan, if it will let me. So once you attach your yarn, I'm going to chain 12 because I want my button band to be about 2.5 inches. So I think 12 stitches is enough. Actually, I think I'll do 10 inches just so that I don't make it too wide. So I'll reduce and do 10 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. After you have your desired number of stitches, I'm going to chain 1 and then I'll be placing a half double crochet slip stitch into the second stitch from the hook. So I'll be placing a half double crochet slip stitch into every stitch until I get to the end of the row. Okay, so once you get to the end of the row, you're going to place a slip stitch into the same stitch where you attached your yarn, and then another slip stitch into the very next stitch as well. and then turn your work and continue. So I'll come back when we get to where a buttonhole is, and then I'll show you how we're going to be making the buttonholes. Okay, so we have the first buttonhole for this row. What we're going to do is, for me, I have 10 stitches, so I'm going to do the half double crochet slip stitches for 4 stitches, skip 2, chain 2, and then continue doing the half double crochet slip stitches. I hope I haven't confused anyone. So we're going to do 4 half double crochet slip stitches. There has to be a shorter name for this stitch because so those are 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Chain 2, skip 2, and then continue doing the half double crochet slip stitches into the back loop only. Such a mouthful. This last one always tries to wage a war against me. So with that, you have your first buttonhole. So at every point where you have your stitch marker, that's how you're going to make your buttonhole. From here, slip stitch into the first stitch and then do a second slip stitch into the next. Turn your work and then continue. So where you have the chain 2, you're just going to work into the V's. Don't go underneath the V's, if that makes sense. So work directly into the V's, or into the stitch rather, sorry. Okay, so we'll continue to do that until you have your desired number of buttonholes. I think I'll do it about 6 times. So I'm not sure I'll do this top one. And then after that, you'll just continue without adding any buttonholes until you get to the other end of your cardigan. And with that, you'll have finished your button band, and then we can move on to the sleeves. Okay, so now that we're done with the button band, this is what it looks like once you've placed the half double crochet slip stitch all around. I've left in the stitch markers just so that I can know where I'm going to place my buttons in the end. So now we can move on to doing the sleeves. So we're going to be making the cuffs for this cardigan. They are made separately and then attached to the sleeves afterwards. I made them using the slip stitch in the back loop only so that I can get the stretch, and then it is 2.5 inches wide. Yeah, so let's make it. For this I used a 5.5mm hook, though you can use whatever size you want depending on how tight or loose you'd want your cuffs to be. So begin by making a slip knot. And then make a chain of 10. So this gives you about 2.5 inches. And then you're going to chain 1, and then into the second stitch from the hook, place your first slip stitch. So when you're placing your slip stitches, make sure that you're not doing it too tightly so that it isn't too difficult to work into when you're doing the rest of the rows. So you'll just keep placing a slip stitch into every stitch until you get to the end of the row. When you get to the end of the row, chain 1, turn your work, and then we will be working into the back loops only, and that'll be the repeat for the rest of this project. Usually it's a bit hard for me to like go working back into them, but I feel like as the project grows it gets a bit easier, so you kind of get the hang of it. So you'll repeat until you have your desired circumference. So it should just fit around your wrist, because now with the stretch of the slip stitches, it'll stretch and also fit around this wider part of your arms. So yeah, continue making slip stitches until you get your desired length. Okay, so once you have your desired length for your cuff, you're going to switch over to your 4.5mm hook. So this is your smaller hook. And then we're going to be placing a single crochet on this edge. So for each row, make sure you have one single crochet. For example, I have 41 rows. So this top part should have 41 single crochets. So we're using the smaller hook so that we can easily get into the spaces, because the bigger hook would make it a little bit harder to work with. So we're going to place a single crochet into each stitch. Come on, cooperate. So once you finish making your single crochets along the edge, you're going to fold your cuffs together and then slip stitch the two sides together. You could also choose to sew it together using a whip stitch or a mattress stitch. So once you're done, just chain one and then cut and then cut. I don't know what I wanted to say. So after that you're done and you have your cuffs. Okay, so the final part of this cardigan is the sleeves. I already went ahead and did the first sleeve, and this is what it will look like when you're done. It looks a little bit slim, but I tried it on and it looks fine, so I guess that's okay. So now we'll move on to the next sleeve. I have a total of 48 stitches all around. So for every row, I'm going to have 48 stitches. So I'm going to start with the back side. Since I have flipped it over onto the right side, I want that when I'm placing my stitches for the first row, the wrong side is going to be on the other side. If I started on this side, I'd be working the wrong side on the outside, and I don't want that. So for the other sleeve, I started with the front side of the sleeve. I hope I'm making sense. So let me just repeat that. On the left sleeve of the cardigan, I'm going to start working the sleeve from the front side. And for the right sleeve of the cardigan, I'm going to start working with the back side. So let's just get started with that. So I'm still following my chart. So my first, oh no, don't tell me I've made a mistake. Oh no, it's just tangled in the middle. False alarm. Okay. Okay, so let's get started with the back sleeve. This is going to be my first color. I'm still using the same chart. So for this color, I'm going to be making 12 rows, 12 stitches rather. So I'm going to make a slip knot as usual. We're still using the 4.5mm hook. And then I'll place it into the very first stitch. And I'm going to start with a double crochet. So place one double crochet, and then into the next stitch a single crochet. So we're going to be working into the back loops only for this first row. So the next stitch is a single crochet and then a double crochet. I'm also going to be tucking in this end so that I don't have any ends to weave in when I'm done with the sleeves. So I'm going to do that 12 times. I think I said that. So now I'm going to be switching color to my next color. Okay. Anyway, let me just finish this row. I'm going to switch color one more time and do 12 stitches for the final color. So I'm done with this row. From here, I'm going to chain one and then turn my work. And then we'll continue to do the lemon peel stitch until you have your desired length for your sleeves. So once you're done with your sleeves, you'll come back and I'll show you how I'm going to sew the sleeves together and then attach the cuffs. And from there, we'll pretty much be done. So here's the sleeve done. I did 58 rows. Now we're going to sew it together. I'm going to turn it wrong side out so that we can sew on the inside and not on the outside. Okay, so now we're going to take our darning needle and then the same color thread as one of your sides. I'm going to take some orange thread and then use that to sew this first bit together. Okay, so once we've done that, we're going to do the same stitch we used to seam the other parts of the cardigan, which is the whip stitch. So that's what I'll be using. So here I tie a knot. I don't know if this is correct, but this is what I do. And then I will tuck in this yarn as I seam the cardigan together. So I'll just be going through the loops that I can see as I go. So I'll continue to do this until I get to the end, which is here where the armpit is, and then weave in the ends and cut off the yarn. Then I'll repeat the same for the dark brown, the beige, this other brown, the green, and then the final color. So that's basically how you will seam the sleeves, the side of your sleeves together. So after you've done that, you'll come back and then do the finishing touches, which is adding the cuffs. Okay, now that we have our sides seamed together, we can attach the cuff. So I've put 2 stitch markers on the corners and I want to attach them to the corners of the cardigan. I'll explain why in a bit. Okay, so now that we've done that, I have 48 stitches on my sleeve and then I have 41 stitches on my cuff. So that means I will need to place 2 stitches in one of this from here so that I can reduce the number and so that also it's, how can I say it? Like it doesn't have any gaps left in between. That's what I'm trying to say. So on these corners here, I want to reduce closer to the middle part just so that it could cinch slightly inwards. I don't know if that makes sense. So I'm going to reduce one on this side and one on the other side. So So my mic died, but I was saying that for my decreases, since I have 7 of them, 4 of them will be closer to the middle, and then the other 3 will be spread across the rest of the cuff. So I hope that has made sense. That's how I'm going to attach the sleeve and the cuff together, even though they have a different number of stitches. Okay, so from here, I was just attaching the yarn onto the sleeve and the cuff so that I can begin seaming it together. I'm going to be working in the front loop of the sleeves and then into the back loop of the cuff. So we'll just be doing the the whip stitch into those 2 stitches, and then I'll come back and show you how we'll be doing the decrease stitches. Okay, so to do the decrease, we're going to be placing 2 stitches from the sleeve into 1 stitch from the cuff. So here I've done the first one, and then I'm going to do the second one. So that's how I'm going to be doing the 7 decreases. From here I have 6 more decreases, and like I said, 2 of them will be closer to the middle, and then the rest will be spread across the rest of the cuff. So once your sleeve is done, this is what it'll look like. As you can see, it has like a slight taper towards the ends, and when you flip it to the right side, this is what it looks like. You have that sort of ridge because of the back loop. Okay, so this is how I blocked it. I don't have a steamer, so I used the steam function on this iron to steam my cardigan. I did this a few times over the whole cardigan and then left it out to dry flat on the ground.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you know what it is. Rest in peace, Mac, don't trip. Gotta thank Coda for the hit. Hobby turn a hobby to legit. Now we body every bitch. Still a bushy bitch talking that bullshit, bullshit. So why you throwing shade on me? Cause I just do my thing low key. But naked while I'm doing Tai Chi. Never met a motherfucker like me.
Okay, and with that, you have your cardigan. This is how mine turned out. I wanted a little bit of a looser fit, an oversized fit, and that is exactly what I made. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you when I make another video. Bye!